of finance to order. This is certainly our plan to be the last meeting of the year, and I'll go ahead and do the invocation today myself. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all that you've blessed us with, all you've given us. You've been so good to us in so many ways, and we thank you for giving us the opportunities we have and the place we live in and the things that have been provided. We ask that this committee and all of us here would have wisdom to do the thing that you would provide us with the ability to do those things, and that we would listen to you in all manners. We ask this all in your name and for your sake. Amen. Amen. So we're going to look back at House Bill 86, the bill that had the aquarium and zoo and something else in it. It actually never left out of the committee and got reported out, so it's still in our committee. And to revisit it, I will need a motion to reconsider this.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second to reconsider it. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So you have in your folder LC 452848S, which has, let me make sure we've got everything in there. I'm not sure that, did the sunset get back in? That may be the one thing that wasn't in the original.
I believe it is. You're looking at 2848S? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the sunset is on line
I
60.
I see it now on line 60. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
They've slipped by me a couple of times in past years, so.
I make a motion to pass the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we've got a motion that I'll accept to do pass this. Is there a second? Second by Senator Estevez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There's none. And I believe that Senator Albers, you were the, I'm sorry, Senator. Okay. All right. We've got one no vote from the committee, and the motion passes with one nay. All right, Chairman Blackman, do you want to come up to the committee here and? I don't know. Do I want to? There's a lot in that bill for you to explain to the committee here. We had a hearing last week, and I think our fiscal note is in here, isn't it?
Yes.
This is my fourth meeting in a row, from higher ed to rules to health. I left health early, so I haven't had much time to go over the packet. But I've got good people working that hopefully have everything ready for it. So you'll see a fiscal note in there on this bill. And we'll go over that in a little bit. But if you want to present first to the committee.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Bring before you House Bill 454, LC 432769S, I believe. Is that what you have, Mr. Chairman?
No, and did he get a copy of the new one? I apologize for that. I meant to do that right when I came in.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did you find those glasses here in this room?
I did. I had so many people tell me they make me look like I have a little bit of sense. So I was walking around looking, dumbfounded and ignorant. I probably still do, but maybe this helps just a little bit there.
They're working great.
I left them here. I was, practicing.
So section 7, there's a couple of sections at the end that are new language. Rather than that, it should be exactly what you had, with the exception of the force majeure definition has been modified slightly. We've been continually working on that one to see what will work. So if you want to start on the bill.
Yes, sir. I will do my best here. Section 1 is as it relates to the IRC update, and essentially perpetuates the ability for manufacturers to expense certain things in a full year versus over a 5-year period. as was adjusted at the federal level in the original IRC update, so that's why that looks as it does. 2 through 5 are some technical changes and some adjustments based on some feedback that we received from economists and accountants and other members regarding 1437 last year. There were some realized, I think, revenue adjustments to the state and allowed us to get the standard deduction in place for married filing joint families a little earlier, so save them a considerable amount of money starting in year one. I do have some, I can dive a little bit further into this if you'd like me to, answer as many questions as you like and as far into the weeds as you like, Mr. Chairman, but ultimately it takes a $300 per taxpayer credit, so that's $600 for married, in order to make sure that, we keep everybody whole and saving money in a very difficult environment that we have. I would also say that, the final part, I think, with regard to the force majeure was updated so that national disaster would also capture what we have seen in the last 3 years, which is a pandemic. And is that where the adjustment that you're referring to, Mr. Chairman, is?
And that was worked with Ledge Council on and the Department of Revenue to make sure we felt like we had language that did what was the intent of it to do as best we could, though we can't go retrospective and we can't be gratuitous. It seemed to be the best language we could do.
I see us, section 7.
Yeah, 7 and 8 is the addition that you don't have to give any explanation on. But let's go over, let me summarize a little bit for the committee, because I know we've had a little bit of talk on this, but we already had a bill last year that would have some rate reductions of 0.1%, eventually down to 4.99, only if certain triggers were met. We didn't want to put something in that handicapped the state if the revenue wasn't there. So in your bill, there's a look back on what we look at to see if the triggers are there, and really the administration sets the revenue, so that they've got a lot of control on this. But you're changing the 5-year look back to a 3-year look back in this, correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and I'll kind of, if you'll allow me, maybe explain a little bit of how that worked. There
Sure.
was some, I guess, part of the clarification with regards to that reduction, as you can see on page 5 where we struck the original language, that there was some question as to whether or not you might skip a rate reduction and it go directly to a 2/10 or a 3/10 or a 4/10. So as part of an offset that, the look back, instead of a 5-year look back, would be a 3-year look back. And, that was a Senate provision that we had in there, a good one, I'm sure. And I thought that if there was some concern or needed to be some adjustments, that could be made on y'all's side of the house, sir.
Okay.
Of the building, I should say.
And then you have changed, which changed to back to where I had actually wanted to be last year, but we're going from personal exemption amounts to new standard deduction amounts. And the standard deductions had been on a phase-in to try to eliminate the marriage penalty, and the way you've got it, they will be at 12 and 24, single and family, and this will eliminate the marriage penalty that's currently in the tax code.
Yes, sir. Helps our lower middle income families, I think, the most, and it does it quicker.
All right. And then the other substantial change is that taxpayers will have the option to itemize or filed with a standard deduction from the federal code. You want to explain that one a little bit?
If you itemize at the federal level, then you can choose whether you want to drag your itemization down or if you want to take the standard deduction as an itemizer. And that was again suggested by the Society of Accountants, who has written an endorsement letter for the this portion, well, all portions of the bill except for the newest that you presented today.
Okay. And let me look. You want to talk about the $300 and why you're doing that tax credit?
Yeah, when you move it from the personal exemption and you bounce it off against what we have under current law in 2023 and prior, what you see is that itemizers get a portion of the personal exemption at, in the individual level, and they get it married. And in order to offset that personal exemption, we wanted to make sure that, everybody's taxes were lower or, reduced or zero. And this is the number that we reached that would accomplish that objective. So it would be $300 per taxpayer, which means $600 for those that are married, filing joint.
All right, so it's a slight change on what we had done. Why don't we go to the fiscal note on it now?
Yes, sir.
So, well, I do want to do a little bit of explain on that because if you go to the note, and of course this is on LC 4327693, which doesn't have the other two sections in it, but this is the financial part of it. If you look at it and go across the 5 years, there is a line of rate reductions. So if you get to 2027, everybody got that chart? Okay, if you get 2027, the 133.7, in my opinion, was going to happen anyway because the rate reduction was already in process. And the same on the 476.3. So the new part of the bill would be everything below those lines, which would be, or really just the next line, which is the 63.8, 156.4, 103.9, 22.2, and actually a positive of 62.9 if you don't count the 476 reduction already in there. Does that make sense to everybody? Y'all follow me? Okay, just want to be sure we understood the fiscal note on that. All right, any questions on Chairman Blackman's part at this time? Sure.
Let me just ask one quick question. I always, from accounting terms, we normally brackets mean one thing to us, and sometimes it means different things. The brackets on this, does that mean that's a savings to the taxpayer, or does that mean that's a savings to the government?
That's less money we're gonna get to the government.
Less government to the government.
So we
No,
saving
right.
money for the taxpayers.
Right.
So over that period of time, it's $415 million.
But that, again, that was already in there. The 476 was already gonna happen anyway from last year's
Right.
tax bill.
Right.
And the 133.7 was already gonna happen from last year's tax bill. So even though those are in there, to me, that's sort of not
Right. No,
germane, but, that's the way it's written.
no, I agree.
So the standard deductions being greater at the bottom obviously will help people at the bottom more, like you said, because it's going to their part of it.
Greater percentage of their income.
Right,
Yes, sir.
that, good way to put it. Senator Albers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Blackman, I just want to say thank you for your hard work on this, cleaning up the standard deductions and raising those, making it that you don't have to go from federal to state is a really big deal that most people probably won't realize until they get to that point that they have to make those changes and eliminating marriage penalties. So thank you. I know you've spent a lot of time and effort on this. We really appreciate your hard work on it.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Senator Tillery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Blackman, I want to say the same thing. Very rarely does a bill come before this committee that I am actually in favor of.
Move to pass.
But this does what I think we're setting out to do. We want to reduce the tax burden on everyday Georgians, regardless of if they're business owners or folks who are working at those businesses. And that's why sometimes we're very, very tough on the credits that come before this committee. Because every time, as you see in this fiscal note here, to reduce it 1/10% is quite a large dollar amount. And every time we're giving it away $1 million or $500 million at a time, we don't get to reduce the top end rate. And I want to tell you and the members of the House, thank you for sending us this, or working with us on this, so that we can reduce the top end rate for everybody, which will also benefit those Georgia businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And to Chairman Tillery's point, we do have the governor's, rebate that he did, but if you take that out, the one that we just passed out that our Chairman Tillery voted against is more than all the others that this committee has passed out, added up together this year of new. There have been some existing ones that have continued, but of new, that's 75% of the new. So it's been a year really where we want to really look at all these things closely in the off session.
The appropriate time, I'll make a motion.
All right. No, we haven't. We've got another section in there, and I know there's several people that have studied this. Anybody want to go over this section? You want to discuss it, or anybody else? Senator Tillery.
I mean, I can read it for you. I don't
Okay.
know that I had any pre-knowledge of it coming before now. But Section 7 amends the sales tax exemption in paragraph 7 of Code Section 28. It basically says the added language, it looks like it's a sales and tangible personal tax exemption for nonprofit hospitals. And the added language in 232 through 235 just says, you got to be a nonprofit hospital. You've got to do inpatient hospice, so there's different things you can do. And it says further that you also cannot have been the entity or directly control an affiliate entity that terminated operation of a hospital containing a level 1 trauma center and at least 200 inpatient beds after January 1st, 2021, and still be eligible for this exemption. I think it's a good thing. I'm for it.
And this obviously deals with a couple of closures done in really poor areas. And I know I've heard some people on the minority caucus that have been concerned about the same issue. Senator Estevez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Tillery, for that summary. Does anyone know whether those hospitals are able to roll over the exemption into future years? Because if they can, I'm not sure that does enough. I don't know the answer to that, but sometimes you can roll over losses and
I would think they wouldn't be recognized, but Senator Tillery will let an attorney answer that.
Well, I'm not a tax lawyer, so
Yeah.
be careful about this. But I hear what you're saying, Senator Estevez. You'd want to go further, potentially go further. I think this is a good first step. Also note, I think it's sales and use tax. So I don't know that there's a rollover on sales and use tax, but I would defer to our esteemed legislative counsel in the back who might be able to say that that's true or not.
Yeah, the sales tax exemptions apply at the time of the transaction.
Okay. All right, well, we had a motion, I think, by Senator Albers was going to make it to do pass this bill. We've got a second by Senator Avatarte. Any other discussion? All those in favor of this, raise your hands. Any opposed? One opposed? We've had one opposed on both of them, I guess now. So, all right, motion carries, and those are the two items for this committee. We're adjourned. Remind the committee members that we do have our committee dinner tonight, and we'll be joining Ways and Means. Has decided they would go with us, and
Look forward to the dinner tonight. Thank